What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Joshua Buatsi versus Craig Richards, and this is going to be a 12-rounder for the WBA Light Heavyweight World Title Eliminator, and this fight is going to be Saturday, May 21st, from the O2 Arena in London, England, and this fight is going to be broadcasted on DAZN. And to get both fighters' resumes, Joshua Buatsi, fighting out of England by way of Ghana, holds a record of 15 wins with no defeats and 13 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 9 by BoxRec in the light heavyweight division. And to list some of his best victories, he has a knockout win over Ryan Ford and a knockout win in his last fight over Ricards Bolotniks, and it was probably his best victory to date. And to get his opponent's resume, Craig Richards, fighting out of England as well, holds a record of 17 wins with 2 defeats and 1 draw, with 10 wins coming by way of knockout. He's currently ranked number 13 by BoxRec in the light heavyweight division. He's also a former WBA light heavyweight world title challenger, and to list his 2 defeats and his draw, he has a unanimous decision loss to Frank Buglioni and a unanimous decision defeat to Dimitri Bivol. And recently, that loss to Bivol is looking much better, considering that Bivol beat Canelo Alvarez, and many people thought that his fight against Bivol, and I'm saying Richards' fight against Bivol, was a very competitive and close fight. And to list his 1 draw, it was a points draw, and it was against Chad Sugden. And now to list some of his best victories, Craig Richards has beaten the likes of Shakon Peters by knockout, and he also has a knockout win over Marek Matija. And in my opinion, this fight at first I thought was easy to predict, but as I've been watching more tape on both these guys, and as the Canelo fight obviously ended, I'm sort of edging this fight, obviously still in favor of Buatsi in my opinion, but it became much, much closer and much harder to predict, just the outcome in general. So, Joshua Buatsi has very, very good power, very solid, well-balanced technical fighter. He could box a bit, he could brawl as well, and he's very technical when he throws his punches, has a very sort of professional, amateur-like stance, but an amateur not in a sense that it's like obviously a beginner, but amateur as like a well-schooled, very experienced boxer, and that's what really Buatsi is. I believe he did win an Olympic medal. Comment down below if that is correct. But he's a very well schooled, powerful fighter, a rising light heavyweight. Boxer has him top 10. He's a very, very good fighter. I've made videos on numerous fights of his, and he's always fun to watch as well. So, but as for Craig Richards, he has 2 defeats, a draw. In his last couple fights, he's looked pretty solid, specifically against Bivol and against Matija. So, even though he lost against Bivol, he put up a great fight later on. I know I thought he lost like 9-3 in that fight, but the judges had a 1-point fight. Another judge had a 2-point fight. Like, they had it actually really, really close. But, yeah, in that fight, he came back later on in the fight, and in his last 2 fights, speaking of when he fought Bivol and Matija, he's just looked much more solid on his feet, much more tricky to figure out, and just a much more overall better fighter. He looks like he had faster hands, really looked like he's worked on his defense a bit more since his other defeat, and he really just looked like a whole new balance and better Craig Richards. And he really fought true to his nickname, like a spider, like numerous arms sticking out there with his punches. Really solid defense as well, not really getting hit with too many big shots. And he's just looked really solid since then. BoxRec has him now top 15 at number 13. So this is actually a really, really good and well-balanced fight on paper. And this is possibly Joshua Buatsi's toughest opponent to date, and most likely his toughest opponent on paper. So, just to break down this fight, I think that Joshua Buatsi will have most of his success in the first half of this fight, similar to what Dimitri Bivol had, and I think that Buatsi will control this fight based off of his sort of very well-skilled and technical punches. We all know that he's a very technical fighter, throws his punches with sort of thought behind them, knowing where he's going to land, very accurate as well. And yes, he does have very, very good power, 13 knockouts and 15 wins. And if he lands on Richards, we don't know how Richards will take a Buatsi shot, because Buatsi has put a lot of opponents away with his right hand. But I don't really think that Richards will get like dropped or stopped in this fight. I think it will go the distance. But I mean, he does definitely have to watch out for the right hand, because who knows? I could be wrong, and then Richards could get hit with one shot and knocked out cold. But yeah, I think that primarily Buatsi will fight in mid-range, will come forward a bit, but Richards will really be trying to fight sort of on the outside a bit, maybe coming forward with some jabs of his own, trying to land some bursts of combinations, really trying to score points. But I really think that most of the primary success will be coming from Joshua Buatsi in the first half of the fight. And after like 6 rounds, let's just say, the scorecards could be 58-56 in favor of Buatsi, somewhere around there. Maybe a judge in the UK might have it like 59-56, like, because, I mean, UK judges do give 10 rounds a lot. But, yeah, I think the scores could be around 58-56, maybe 59-55. But, yeah, I mean, it could even be 57-57. I mean, I think, even though Buatsi might edge it a bit, there could be a few closer rounds, but it'll most likely be 58-56, if not 59-55, in favor of Buatsi in the first half of the fight. But then I see Craig Richards sort of figuring out Buatsi a bit. I see Buatsi slowing down a bit like he did against Kalix, or if I pronounce his name incorrectly, I believe his name was Marko Kalix. He was a cruiser, or should I say a Croatian, that Buatsi fought. Like, he was able to give like a big sort of welt under the eye of Buatsi, was able to give him a tough fight, and that was an opponent that Buatsi had like a bit of a struggle against, but he was able to stop him nonetheless. But in this one, I don't really think that Craig Richards is going to be like that. I think Craig Richards is much more solid than a lot of the guys that Buatsi has faced, and I think that he will pose a threat to Buatsi in the later rounds, as opposed to most of Buatsi's fighters who have sort of broken down in the later rounds, even in performances where Buatsi's looked a bit more flat. But yeah, in those later rounds, I see Craig Richards starting to sort of box more a bit on the jab, starting to score points more, starting to be more open, trying to come forward more, trying to land his combinations, really trying to control the fight. And let's just say from rounds, let's just say 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, the last 6, it could even be 4 rounds to 2, or like 4 rounds to 2 in favor of Craig Richards in those last 6 rounds. Could even be 3-3. Like, but in those rounds, I see just Craig Richards having more success than in the first half, and seemingly maybe winning them, even getting a tie in them. But still, nonetheless, he will look like the more, I guess you could say, fresher fighter in those rounds as opposed to Buatsi. But yeah, Craig Richards will give Buatsi a tough fight nonetheless, and I think that this fight will go the distance, as I mentioned before, obviously. And I think that the judges will have this fight really, really close. Like, as I mentioned before, it could be like a fight that's split between 2 halves, which I think it will be. Buatsi controlling the first and Richards controlling the second. And I think that the judges could be split on this. Could be a majority decision. I'm edging majority decision win for Buatsi, and I think that the judges will score this bout 116-112, 115-113, and 114-114 in favor of Buatsi to win by majority decision, as I mentioned before. So, I mean, comment down below your thoughts on this fight, your thoughts on what the winner could get next, being that this is an eliminator, and your scorecard for this fight, if you think it will go the distance, and obviously who you think is going to win, as I mentioned before. So, overall, I believe that Joshua Buatsi will get the best victory of his career this far, as I think he will defeat Craig Richards by majority decision to win the WBA light heavyweight world title eliminator. And once again, I believe that the judges will score this bout 116-112, 115-113, and 114-114 in favor of Buatsi by majority decision. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.